is the Leaders Anchor Show. Let yourself be inspired by real-world leaders and their experience. Sharing knowledge is what it's all about. Learning from experience, see what real-world leaders have to say.
Welcome, Krishna, Gandhi to Leaders Anchor.
Thank you.
And this is when I have a one-to-one section with
Great.
you, where the world would like to explore a little bit about your life. Tell me about you, briefly.
About
Who is
me?
Krishna Gandhi? Your name is so powerful.
Right.
How
Well,
do you live with a name like that?
well, I just try and keep my intention and my actions very aligned. Tend to be very transparent, and I just don't lie to myself, at least. And I think that helps part of it in maintaining some level of up to that name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And then the other half is actually then, I think it's a natural inclination, I think, just because I'm curious and I want to understand things. But part of understanding that, understanding everything is, well, morals come into it, integrity comes into it, because it's part of everything anyway. There is a science to it all. There's meaning behind those values. It's not quite random.
You talk about morals and integrity and science. How do you connect all of these? Why do you think morals is important in anything?
Well, it's philosophy kind of goes into understanding everything, and I think when you look at any subject and you go into the depth of that subject, it always takes you to its philosophical implications. So it could be anything, it could be music. It will take you into its depth of music. Will be math, and how you see the mathematical patterns in nature, and how it makes you feel. How the certain kind of combinations of notes and rhythms and that make you feel emotions. So it will take you to understanding the universe if you just kind of stick in one subject. So and so that's what I think, where people who have made advances, great advances, always stuck in that one field, and it's kind of taken them to understand a lot of things. So with science, even with, like, if you look at Einstein, he was really curious about how physics, how things worked, and he used science then, such as relativity, to understand the universe. And he himself was a very spiritual person. A lot of these philosophers, Plato, Socrates, who are the great leaders, and Gandhi also, through his work and experiences and his passion, led him to doing what he did. Again, there's a commonality, is that all of them tend to have values and morals and integrity, because that's what comes with something that you're really passionate about.
How does that relate to the work that you do? Morals, integrity, values. And tell us about the work that you do.
Well, if everything is energy, ultimately, even in terms of physics and quantum mechanics, and everything's energy, and our thought has an energy. So certain frequencies of activity, they matter. So have good intentions, have a frequency that you send them out, and nothing stops. Everything's always constantly traveling. We look at the stars today and we think that's how they are, but actually at the source, some of them are not even alive. It's just that it's taken hundreds and thousands of years for the light to get to us. But that light constantly travels. So with anything, with any energies, I think it's a rule of thumb, isn't it, that energy you can create it or destroy it, just transforms.
Have you always been philosophical? Sorry for interjecting. Have you always been this philosophical? How did you grow up? When did this all start?
I think I had the opportunity to always be quite explorative. So I kind of just only child, always exploring things, and I went to a Sunday school that I still go to. So one of my a person that I consider very dear and has inspired me is Pandurang Sastri Atavale, who's a philosopher, amazing philosopher, and I think maybe more. I mean, he's quite instrumental to a lot of transforming many people, millions and hundreds of million people's of lives through actual living his life and doing the work, but silently, you know. So he has been a huge influence in triggering the curiosity, why, what, when. And there's two major incidents, and one was when I was about 9, I think. I looked at the Great Atlas and, you know, had looked at the solar system, and I just thought, okay, you know, here's Earth, and Earth is, and here's England, and here's my house in England, and, you know, kind of, and then I'm in the house, and so I can't understand myself, the size of myself in the solar system, and kind of was okay with that, you know, totally fine with that. And then in the next page, it was like, the entire universe, and there were so many galaxies, and there was this arrow pointing to nothing, saying that's our solar system. And I think at that time I just had like this huge metaphysical question of like, what the hell, why am I even here, what's the point of being? And I think those kind of elicited lots of questions, and you know, even things that, even though I went to Sunday school, I was listening and it made sense, but it didn't make sense because there was still a lot of pruning to do. There's a lot of conditioned ways of thinking and the way of seeing things. So, and then I think and then I became like scared of death, and that was like a constant issue. So I think I called on an event. You know how you attract events? I don't know, maybe. So I was about 14, and I was in America. In the Atlantic Ocean, and there's one wave just come and took me out, and so that was my near to death.
Wow.
So that was very satisfying, probably the best experience in my life, because that kind of took that fear away and just made me realize that there's definitely something more than this.
Tell me about your journey in this life, especially with the work that you do. Simonics, how long have you been in this business?
So Simonics was I registered Simonics in May this year, and but I started Neurobeats in 2004, and that was following 3 years of investigation in this particular area. So 2001 is when I really started to. That's when I came across brainwaves.
How old were you then?
21.
21. 21.
So you can guess how old I am now. That's quite a long time.
Well, I like to attempt guessing your age now. How old are you?
So I'm 33 now.
You're 33
yes.
now?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
It's a long journey.
It's a long. Tell me about this journey. What has been your down? I want to know your down moments when you thought that everybody had given up, and you know that there was no way. What was going through your mind when you thought about these moments?
I lost faith in just everything. You know, everything didn't make sense. I was skeptical about everything, and my whole web of belief broke down because I questioned everything, like fundamentally, even things I'm seeing and hearing. And then rebuilding that until every premise is really strong. I can validate it. You know, I needed a premise to make everything for everything to make sense. And brainwaves, when I came across the brainwaves, it was a measurable thing that linked the mind and brain. It just made sense. So that was a strong enough premise about the mind existing because we can measure it. And then there's matter and how matter and mind links. So that gave it a really strong base to then rebuild my web of belief. Now this is in my early 20s.
How did you overcome it, basically?
I just continued, you know, against the odds. I mean, I wasn't making sense to myself, and I wasn't making sense to, you know, my peers around me, or my family, and my friends around me. And that's the hardest bit, really, because, you know, you really do question everything. You don't believe anything. That really is very difficult. And if you don't know what you know, your friends and family they're not going to know what you know. And so you're going to have this very uncertain. You're uncertain about who you are, and then your relationships with people, and then your place in society and your place in the world. You know, for a minute I was like, I'm just out of this time zone kind of thing. But I was convinced. I knew about this being an absolute certain premise, so I just kept on building, and that was my strength, because I knew that was the truth. That was one truth I can go on, and I just built it. It took a few years to rebuild my entire web of belief and make sense of the world in terms of understanding this new science that's come into it, and then reconcile it with how things are. That was the biggest thing. And so once I kind of put all the pieces, the jigsaws together, I think it's probably the strongest place I've ever been, because everything's so validated and looked into and checked and researched. I think, you never know, someone might pull me up on a premise and completely break me, but we'll see about that. I'm open to that too. But and then when you communicate the science, sometimes people don't want to know because it's inconvenient. It's inconvenient to them because it upsets their web of belief, and then and their way of seeing things and perceiving things and the way they've lived their life. And so it's a challenge to, friends and family around me, but it's also academically a challenge because it's not accepted academically at that time. It's only a few people that were doing the research previously, since 1960 something, but research seemed to have disappeared for whatever reason that may be, and so it's been very underreported almost, and I don't know why. There might be reasons, but so academically, it's only starting to come about now. The work in EEG, the significance of the activity, the importance of, the information in the EEG is very much, an emerging area in science.
How did you now? Eventually, when you made your first breakthrough, and you thought that you had arrived, and looking at your journey so far, and the pain and all the things that you went through, how does it feel like now? Do you think that anybody can make it happen too? I mean, you didn't have much support from family and friends, I must think.
I think maybe not to back me up in my belief, but I'm blessed enough to be able to even carry out the investigation. That's a blessing in itself. I'm not going to take it for granted. I was able to carry out the research and do it, and feel free to do the exploration. No one stopped me and let me carry on doing what I wanted to do. So I had that freedom to do it. So in that way, I can't say I didn't have any support, but there's always room to complain about everything at the end of the day. But it's been difficult internally. It's an internal challenge because there's insecurities, and are you accepted because of your way of thinking, and you not, and are you those personal challenges? And I think without pointing fingers, where I am now, it's everything happened for a reason. So
everything happens for a reason, and she's loving what she does. We are very happy that you could make it here to share with us a bit of your life. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share your life with the rest of the world. Thanks for coming on the Leaders Anchor Show. Thank you very much.